And so there's an example of a wave here, and a wavelet is a piece of a wave, and there's a chirp. Chirp is like the sound made by a bird. You know, there's up chirps, like, and then down chirps. And so it's changing. You know, so a wave is e to the square root of -1 times 2 pi times something times time. You know, and that's equal to cos, you know, say cos omega t plus the square root of -1 times sine omega t. You know, that's a wave. A chirp is like e to the square root of -1 times a t squared plus b t plus c, let's say, a polynomial. It's got a quadratic in it. And so it's evolving, and then a chirplet is a windward piece of that chirp. And so there's an example of a chirplet visualization of augmented reality. Here's an example of chirplets happening in real life. We have periodicity in the world all around us, but when we take photographs of things, those windows, you know, you can see there's light, dark banding from the windows of every concrete structure, and you can see the pattern's somewhat periodic, but the period decreases as a function of time. Now, when your heart rate is changing, that's a chirp. And so HRV just begs to be done with chirplet transform. That's just the way to do it, you know. And so it'd be fun to collaborate. Maybe we can work together and make HRV, because I used to build in my childhood all kinds of heart sensors and things like that, and haptic feedback. I made a vibra vest, you know, which is had all these vibrotactile things all over it, so I could kind of feel my heart. And I did a heart-to-heart thing with, you know, do something with someone else where we could feel each other's heartbeat. Just all kinds of goofy childhood games, but there's some serious business propositions for healthcare and monitoring and wellness and biofeedback we could talk about.
I was just commented when you were talking about radar, with radar detectors and radar.
Oh, yes.
Back in those days, we used to know what the car was taking kind of a diode.
Yes, a gun diode.
Yeah, so you would mess up the radar. So if you played around with the gun diode, putting it in headlights,
yeah,
you can actually make it so that you'd be driving at 100 miles per hour, but the radar detector that the policeman was holding, you think you would read 30 miles per hour.
Yeah, it's funny. I kind of unintentionally discovered that, because when I was driving, I wanted situational awareness in my car, so I made the smart car. When I first learned to drive when I was 16 years old, you know, I wanted kind of this car to tell me what was in the world. So I put all kinds of radar sets and vision around it, and I had the Doppler shift coming to the speaker system so I could hear what was coming behind me, and then I wanted to be able to hear cars coming up behind me, so I had to took the radar return plus the square root of -1 times its Hilbert transform, and it was exploring this idea of gating it, whether it's positive or negative. So I'd have an oscillograph, a cathode ray oscillograph, and the electron beam would go counterclockwise when targets were gaining on me and clockwise when they were going away. So then I have a sensing device that would sense when something's gaining on me. So if there's a car pulling up, gaining on me, I'd hear that as an audio alert, then I could look in my rear view mirror and get better situational awareness. But kind of a side effect of having all this radar instrumentation is the police radar stuff didn't work very well. And I started to realize that, you know, this vision, the same with my eyeglasses too, you know, I had an active vision system. And I would walk into some places and I couldn't see properly because there's some kind of a active vision system that they're using. And then I had to increase the output of my vision system to be able to see properly. And then what I realized is I'd walk into a restaurant and they had a TV hanging by their surveillance, and the TV went all white. So like their surveillance system couldn't see properly whenever I walked in the room. And so it seemed that there's almost this arms race of trying to see, and I see that with self-driving cars now. They're all using active vision, so they're going to blind each other. And so radar or LiDAR is all active, you know, it's going to clutter the spectrum like crazy. So this is one of my HDR invention really holds the answer to self-driving cars because it's passive vision that doesn't clutter the spectrum.
I think one thing that we have to take a look at with self-driving cars and with the technology is the long-term effects, like biological tissue in the mind, from those perspectives. Do you have any comments from that perspective?
Well, certainly you saw the preliminary studies of kind of doing the brain waves and radio waves and how they interplay and all that. It would be fun. It would be really interesting to work. Arc and I guess we're working with some collaborations too. I mean, we got MIT, Stanford. If you got contacts, I'd just love to follow up on some of that and do some. It's not an immediate business. We can't sell it, but we could certainly get a grant proposal to do some studies.
Maybe a couple last questions. Speak loudly.
Yeah, they're just curious about what do you think of invasive technology in bioscience? Because like right now, everything seems like it's coming to the body. Everything is outside of it. How many years till we start seeing, like these inventions that are inside the body?
I'd say it's the reverse. In my childhood, I did stupid things like shove things into my body. And then what made this product sellable in the commercial market was the fact that you didn't need to do that. So what makes the Muse attractive is the fact that you don't need to shave off your hair and start punching holes in your skull.
But for medical grade stuff, someone that's got very deep, I don't know, like brain trauma or something, it just sounds like the biosensing needs to get closer to the source of the problem.
It does. I mean, in my childhood, I thought I've got to hack into my body to make my body become a computer. But what I realized from a business world point of view, you'd have I had women with a nice big hairdo. She'd say, I said, what? I've got to shave off my hair and start punching holes in my skull. Like, you want something that's nice. So that's why we came up with the eyeglasses. Like, we started with a headphone version that was like headphones. And for guys like us with not too much hair, it's fine. But somebody who's just spent hours preparing a nice hairdo, that's why they like the earbuds. They don't want any loop going over the top of the head because these earbuds have become so popular because you don't have to mess up your hair. People are so finicky about that sort of thing. And that's why we kind of went to an eyeglass-based BCI because it just touches up over the ear, here and over there, and it touches along the top of the nose bridge all around the eyes, and then we get a machine learning algorithm that disambiguates and separately senses EOG, EMG, and EEG. So we can use it to even augmented reality eye tracking and have your cursor move and follow your eye movement and all those really good things without damaging a single strand of hair.
Maybe a last question.
Well. So actually, I've been thinking about a lot about the combination of oculography, EMG, and so forth, and actually feeding that into a machine learning algorithm. And I was wondering if you think there's a place now that we have these neural net chips, the embedded neural net chips showing up. Do you think it makes sense basically to use AI trained on our experiences, our contextual behaviors, and so that it basically learns how we react physiologically in certain circumstances, and maybe the conditions or reactions that precede certain, for instance, undesirable behaviors that we might have, so that we can, target it, so that we basically train it to identify the precursors to those states, those behaviors, and then maybe counteract them with some sort of active input to, a self-regulation system. But rather than, sort of brute forcing it, allowing it to train itself based on its observations.
Yeah, that's exactly HI. I mean, that's kind of what we're doing, is building neural networks. This is what I was kind of doing back in the 80s and 90s, neural network-based BCI, which is sort of HI, humanistic intelligence, is intelligence that arises by having the human being the feedback loop of the computational process. It's this mixture. When I was working with Marvin Minsky, of course, Minsky and Papert came up with this perceptron and neural networks, and that was the first thing we launched right into is designing a neural network that would work directly with the human. I kind of originally envisioned implanting a neural network into my skull that would connect to my visual cortex, and then we kind of backed away from that into something that's more easy to sell in the marketplace.
And any plan to combine your new pair of EEG sensing glasses with, feedback mechanisms like the waveguide display?
Totally. That's been working on that for years now. Yeah, it's just a question of what hits the right price point in the right market.
Maybe Shenzhen is the right place to be for that. So
yes, and I'd welcome anybody here who wants to collaborate with us, like Mann Lab Shenzhen. We've got the organization here. I'd love to meet smart people. I mean, I love to meet people who are good at making things and collaborate. I want to, like, maybe I can talk to you about your heart thing, and anybody else who's really good at making things, building things, mathematics, physics. I just love to meet smart people who are creative, and maybe who knows what will happen when we start riffing, jamming together.
Mostly the people you have here. All right. Well, thanks, team. Is it okay if I circulate your contact to everybody that wants to reach out?
Yeah, that's fine. In fact, I don't know if there's a couple of you who really want to drill deep. We can reach out or something like that.
Excellent. Thank you. All right.
Thank you. It's been an honor.
Thank you for the job.
As long as it doesn't
Your job.
Take my job. I feel like you should listen to my story.
I was just kidding.
Hey Ben, do you want me to kill this? Do you want me to kill it?